Good morning and welcome back to Do Your Parents Want to Stay Home? I'm your host, Infinity Martin, Community Health Engagement Specialist here at Sugar and Spice in Home Care. Here's a quick introduction for anyone joining us for the first time. Sugar and Spice in Home Care is based right here in Flagstaff, Arizona. We are a nurse-owned and operated chronic disease management and caregiving agency serving Flagstaff and roughly a 1 hour radius around it. Our specialty is helping clients truly thrive as they age in place, wherever they call home. Today, we're diving into a topic that touches so many families, especially as the holidays approach. If you're caring for aging parents or a loved one with dementia, you've probably heard that familiar and heartfelt wish, I just want to stay in my own home. This show is all about that very question, do your parents want to stay home? And what does honoring that wish really look like for you as a caregiver? So today we're talking about holiday travel with the loved one you're caring for. We'll talk about what to expect, how to prepare, and how to keep the season a little more manageable. At Sugar and Spice in Home Care, we believe no family should navigate caregiving alone. Regina Deck is joining us again today. She's a registered nurse, geriatric wellness specialist, nurse educator, and elder care consultant right here in Flagstaff. And beyond that, she's the president of Sugar and Spice in Home Care. Welcome back, Regina.
Thank you. That was a beautiful introduction.
Thank you. So here we go. We're talking about travel and safety. Travel days can be overwhelming for anyone. What unique challenges does air travel present for individuals with dementia?
Yeah, so I would say that this can be a very stressful thing for families of families who are caregivers of a loved one with dementia. Tackling the airport can be nerve-wracking for any of us, even myself, without having to care for a loved one. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk about this a little bit and help people process through. As I think I mentioned the other last week when we were on, I was a family caregiver for my father also, who struggled with dementia. And we did encounter some issues at the airports, and so I speak from experience. Not that I know everything by any means, because I don't, but I can share from some of my experiences and then from some of our clients too. So. I would say the biggest struggle, well, it depends on the personality of your loved one and their phase in the dementia process. Sometimes just getting there in the car can be an issue, but I would say the biggest part is just getting from the car to your seat on the airplane. And so some of the things that I wanted to talk about were just some of the things that can happen to be aware of so that you can plan ahead. So that might be making sure that you are hands-free as much as possible throughout the time. So check your bags in. If you're thinking about trying to save money on not checking a bag, I just highly recommend checking your bags. The less stuff that you're lugging around during your trying to get through security and everything, the better. And just having your hands free to be able to take care of your loved one, to be able to hold their hand. A lot of folks that have dementia do much better if you hold their hand and guide them wherever you want to go, as opposed to trying to push them or grab them. So having your hands free is super important. I would say just little things like, either have your boarding pass saved on your phone in the wallet app so that you can pull it up easily. You can save multiple boarding passes in there and just scroll through them one at a time. But if that technology is stressful, then just print out those boarding passes ahead of time. Wear something with pockets in your pants or something so that you can have your driver's license, their driver's license, the boarding passes, those kinds of things just readily available in pockets where you're not having to dig through a purse or dig through a bag or anything like that. I also recommend, if possible, bring a helper with you. There are so many times where a second caregiver can be huge. This is this is something where, and I think we might touch on this a little bit later, but Sugar and Spice does provide caregivers for things just like this. We can help you navigate this process, get you to your gate, sit with you until the flight takes off, all those kinds of things. So, but bring somebody with you. There's times where if you need to go to the bathroom, you don't want to leave your loved one in a crowded airport, hoping that they will stay put until you can get back. You may be able to call on some, a staff member at the airport to sit with them for a minute, but they might be busy. They may not be able to, accommodate that request on the spot. Or if your loved one with dementia needs to use the bathroom. I know uh, Sky Harbor in Phoenix, their bathrooms, some of them are designed where there's two entrances and two exits. So you might send them in one door thinking that I'm standing guard right here, and when they come out, I'm going to see them and I'll be able to help them. And then they could easily just slip out the another exit, and then here they are like looking for you and wandering around in the airport, and you could potentially lose them, right? So that would be very stressful. So I recommend taking somebody with you if you can, if at all possible. It's very helpful. There's many times where it's just nice to have that second person to be able to keep an eye on them. If you need to wait in the airport for any amount of time, getting food, all those things. It's really nice if you can have an extra person. Um, let's see. Oh, one other thing or a couple other things I was going to bring up is remember the communication with somebody with dementia. Their brain does not process multiple commands being talked to them at the same time or said to them at the same time. Um, so when you are at security and you're trying to get through and you got to, empty your pockets and take your shoes off and put your carry-ons on the conveyor belt and everything. That's a lot of steps, right? So it's just important to remember to give them just single commands that are short. So, for example, please take off your shoes and then wait for them to process. Depending on where they're at with their dementia, they may need a minute to think about what you're saying. Plus, they've got so much other stuff, information coming at them. There's announcements over the loudspeaker. The guy the TSA agent it might be yelling instructions. There's people around that are doing things. Kids might be crying. I mean, that's a lot of overload of stimulation around. So you may need to say it a few times, but here's an example of what not to say. Honey, we need to put our stuff on this thing. Give me your shoes. Empty your pockets. Here, help me with this. Give me your shoes. Okay, empty your pockets. You don't want to talk to somebody that has dementia that way. They just can't process everything you're saying. It's too many commands at once. Um, Also, please give me your shoes. Wait a minute. Step out of your shoes. You know, Keep it short and simple. Don't keep saying it over and over too fast, and don't keep changing the way you say it. Just please give me your shoes. Something like that. And give them time, maybe bend down and start to help them take your shoes off, let them see what you're doing, and then stay calm. I think that that can be one of the hardest things when everyone's in a big rush and the line's piling up behind you and they're out of bins, all these things that can happen. Just to stay calm, because our mood is something that they pick up on and they will reflect our mood. So if we start to get stressed, agitated, irritated, um, they're going to start to pick up on that. Their anxiety will rise. So just try and stay real calm. Um, and then there was another thing I wanted to talk about, but I think we're going to get to it in a minute, so I'll wait until we get to the next question.
Okay. Yeah, that's all such great advice. Yeah, that's all wonderful. I did want to ask, how can caregivers discreetly communicate their loved one's condition to the airport staff?
Yes, perfect. So, the Alzheimer's Association actually has these amazing little cards that say, like, my loved one has dementia, please be patient. But I just jumped on Amazon and found this. You could print these off. This one is huge, but I just printed it so you could see it on the screen. But you could shrink these down and print out something like this in like a wallet size so that you can hand. I recommend bringing a lot of them with you. Bring like 30. Um, because you're going to want to potentially give them to the TSA agent who is trying to shout commands. Here, get it. What is that? What is that, like a X-ray machine? You know how they'll just they rush people through like cattle, right? Because they're in a big hurry and they got to do their job. So sometimes it's just handing them one can help, right? Because this person is not going to be able to just jump in that thing, throw their feet on the little prints, put their hands up to, it's going to take a minute for them and they need they need somebody to maybe guide them, but not grab them. And so all those things can be really, these cards are awesome. These cards can be super helpful to the flight stewardesses. When you get on the plane, discreetly pass these out to all the stewardesses so that they are aware, because that can be really helpful too. They are trained at the airports in how to help somebody with dementia or cognitive issues. And so if they are aware, they can be just more helpful to you. Also, there's nothing wrong with handing them out to some of the people that you're sitting around in case your loved one starts to, get agitated on the flight or they don't understand why they have to stay seated for 3 hours, right? They want to get up and walk around. They're not aware of the situation on the flight. They got to pee. They just want to get up right now and go. They don't understand the whole seatbelt sign, all that stuff. So it can be helpful for the people around you just to be aware, so you don't have some guy being like, "Hey, fella, sit down," and things like that because they don't understand the situation of your loved one. Um, Let's see. Yeah, and then I think too, I think you and I talked about this a little bit. Things that you can bring on the plane with you to
Hmm.
make the flight a little bit more successful. So I wanted to bring up a couple of those things. One of them could be some noise canceling headphones. I don't know about you, but I even get like free, it like scares me sometimes if you're dozing off and they come on the loudspeaker with the instructions. I think they have to have it turned up so loud for the hearing impaired, but it is like, oh my gosh, it's so loud. So people with dementia, they start to develop hearing sensitivity, maybe I'll call it, where it's like they get overwhelmed with noises, just like they get overwhelmed with all the other stimulation in the world. They can get overwhelmed trying to process so many noises, so many things going on, conversations behind you or in front of you, maybe a baby crying that is just inconsolable. So many things on a flight that you don't have any control over. So as some noise canceling headphones can be really helpful for somebody who's, starting to get that agitation. Um, and then the other thing I was thinking of was a small booklet of photos, because if you can bring something that is a conversation starter that brings back some memories for them. I would say go way back, right? Because a lot of folks with dementia, they can remember stuff from 40 years ago or 50 years ago, but they are having a hard time remembering the last 10 or 20 years. So, if you can, bring something that have some photos in there that maybe had something to do with what they did for a living. My dad grew up on a farm, so we could, maybe bring some old farm equipment pictures and specific things that I know that he would love to talk about. And I could ask him questions. How did this work? What did you do? Who did this part? Who did that part? You know, tell me about that. And then maybe even some photos of them when they were in their 30s and 40s with other family. things like that can be something that can keep them busy for a little while, that can help with conversation. Bring lots of snacks, healthy snacks, I might add, not high sugar snacks, but some healthy snacks with some protein that actually can be sustaining for them. Extra drinks, things like that would be good.
Okay. So I just have a quick question about the stuff that you could bring. Are dementia patients still able to do, say, like a word search or something, or is that too advanced for them at that stage?
Everybody is just so different. It's very unique what some people can do and what some people can't. I have seen music do things that, it's lodged in a different part of the brain. So we had a dementia patient that was absolutely nonverbal. Word salad kind of words is what she would say. She really could not follow commands. She was advanced stages of Alzheimer's. But if we played music for her that was during her era, she would sing every word. I was like, that is so cool. How does that happen? So, I think it just depends, if you have somebody that maybe was a school teacher and words and numbers, and, maybe somebody was an accountant for a living, some of those things might stick better than with somebody who wasn't. So, I think it's really just a matter of what they can do. But, even somebody who has forgotten how to do, um, like a high level math might still enjoy some flashcards that are just basic math. I mean, maybe it's everybody's so different. And that's kind of what we do at Sugar and Spice is Sugar and Spice. Sugar and Spice is to I don't know what that was. Is to find out where they're at, what can we do that meets them where they're at. um, we worked with artists who have painted incredible photos. They look like a photo. The painting is so beautiful. Um, Now when we give him a paintbrush, we have to have different supplies, and he can't paint the intricacies that he used to, but he does still enjoy some of those kind of painting and artwork and things like that. So it just really, really depends. It's trial and error. So yeah, so you just have to try and see.
Okay. Oh, I did want to mention one more thing about some of the items that might make things a little easier is an Apple AirTag.
Yes.
They're little tracking devices. I actually got a couple for my kids for the airport because it's scary being in an airport and worrying about your loved one running off somewhere and not being able to find them. So
Yeah.
they're they're through Apple. They're for iPhones only. They probably make something different for Androids. I'm not really sure. I'm familiar with iPhone, but all you have to do is go on Amazon. You can just type in Apple AirTag and they come up. They're about $30 a piece. And so you can order one of those and then you just have to download the Find My app on your iPhone. And they make it really simple to follow the instructions to activate it. And you can attach them to your loved one. They make different attachment devices. I even found a pin that you can pin to a shirt or a pair of pants or whatever, and they make bracelets, keychains, and I guess how it works is through Bluetooth. So even if it's out of reach of your own Bluetooth, if someone else on an iPhone has their Bluetooth on, then it'll ping to their Bluetooth. And so you can still keep track of them as long as they're in range of somebody's Bluetooth. But so they're perfect for airports, really. In rural areas, not so much, but perfect for airports and travel. So,
Okay, so it could continue to show the location of your loved one in the airport in the event that you lost track of them, and it would use other people's Bluetooth to communicate back to your phone.
Mm-hmm.
where they are in the airport because it uses other iPhones to continue to connect and track this person for you. So even if they're out of range of your Bluetooth. But I think what you had told me is that it's discreet in that other, if it comes up on other people's Bluetooth, it's not going to say, you know, this person's name, Susie Jones, what's it called? AirTag.
Oh, AirTag, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that's a really cool idea because, in the event you get separated from him, I think even something like that could be helpful for everyday use for somebody with dementia. You could be at the mall, you could be at the movies, you could be at home and they just walk out the front door to go visit the neighbor's dog and you're, in the kitchen and don't realize that they walked out the front door. So yeah, I think those are a really cool feature.
I agree. Yeah. Um, so what would it be like to have Sugar and Spice step in during the holidays so you can focus on family moments?
Yeah, great question. So, at Sugar and Spice, one of the cool things that we can do because we don't have any minimum number of hours required for services with us. So, when we sign up a new client for services, we have them go over a simple 6-page agreement for service. There's no tiny print, there's no hidden policies or anything like that. You can cancel and stop and start whenever you need to. So, if you are just they've got some plans over the holidays and you need somebody to stay with your loved one. We can do pop-ins and check on them if you're going to be completely out of town and they're somewhat independent, but you just want someone to stop in and check on them, refresh groceries, take them out for walks, do some activities with them. It's really very highly customized for what that family needs. But yes, so we can do a multitude of things. If you want, like I was saying, if you need a concierge escort for helping you get on the airplane, if you're wanting to leave town and leave your loved one here, then we can provide respite services there. We can come for as short as an hour if that's what you need. I do recommend, though, if we're going to do that, that you let us come meet you and your family ahead of time and maybe do a few visits prior to the time of you leaving, would be preferred, especially if um, especially if I was going to say, I guess if you're going to leave somebody behind and we're just going to be popping in, they're probably fairly independent still. But it would be good for us to just be able to kind of build a little bit of a relationship with them before you leave, and it would be good for your peace of mind and theirs as well, and kind of learn the layout of the home and where things are kept, and if you'd like us to pop in and provide a meal. Or cook something that maybe can be reheated, make some extra servings and put them in the refrigerator in individual serving sizes. There's lots of things that we can do. Um, but yeah, we've even had families who are flying in. Let's say they're flying in with grandma and they have an event like a wedding. And they know there's going to be a lot of activities that grandma is probably not going to be able to have the energy for. So we've done this before where we had a family that flew into Sedona. They had the wedding. They wanted care for grandma over the weekend. So they wanted to be able to go and enjoy all the festivities. They wanted to go and explore Sedona. They wanted to, spend hours walking around and shopping and looking at things and taking tours. I think they might have even done like one of the pink Jeep tours. And of course, they knew that grandma would not want to be out in the heat and the sun and the dust, but they wanted to be able to do those things. So we just came and met them when they got to town. And then we had a caregiver just come and stay with her for about 8 hours a day during the weekend. And then we could provide transportation, bring her to the rehearsal dinner and then bring her back and things like that so that we can make it easy for families who are traveling in for any kind of an event and just need an extra set of hands.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Thank you.
So, say you're on an airplane and your loved one with dementia falls asleep and wakes up totally confused. How would you react to that? Is there a way to help reset them?
Sure. So I would say again, it's a lot about your own demeanor. Try to stay very calm, but it is common for people with dementia. They fall asleep during the day. They could fall asleep for 5 minutes and then wake up and they are startled and anxious and not sure where they're at. And I try to tell people just put yourself in the person's shoes that has dementia. If this were you, 1 minute you're sitting at home in front of your TV watching a football game. The next minute you're on an airplane. You have no idea how you got there. And it seems like you may have forgotten the whole day of travel to get to the point where you're on the plane. Just wake up and you're on the plane. I think first and foremost, they're going to want to see a familiar face, right? So if you're sitting next to them and they're freaked out, reach over, just calmly hold their hand. Hi, you can just say, "Hey, how you doing? Are you hungry? Would you like something to drink?" Just staying calm, um, and saying something that you would just say in a normal moment of time where there's nothing crazy going on. That can help. Um, you can even just volunteer information. Hey babe, how are you? We're on the plane. It's Christmas. We're traveling to see Jim and Sarah. Um, we've got about another hour left. Can I get you anything? Would you like something to drink? I think sometimes just volunteering information to reorient them to the moment can be really helpful without waiting for them to ask because you can see the questions on their face. You can see the anxiety of like, please answer my questions that I don't even know how to ask at the moment.
Mhm. Okay. And so this happens a lot, I think, when we travel for the holidays and see our loved ones and then realize, oh, maybe they shouldn't be living alone anymore.
Oh,
So, what are some subtle signs that suggest that someone may no longer be safe living alone before a major incident happens?
right. So you're talking about family that maybe the kids live in other states. They talk to mom and dad or grandma and grandpa on the phone every once in a while. They seem fine. They can carry on a conversation. They're playing it, right? They're saying the right things over the phone. But then when you actually come and you spend a weekend with them or 3 or 4 days with them, and you're in their environment, there's a lot of things that we get calls from families quite often over the holidays that are like, hey, we came to visit my mom and dad and realize that they're having a lot of issues. They're really not holding it together as well as we thought they were. Um, so how do we handle this? We don't want to just show up and then take over their life and flip everything upside down and have full-time caregivers coming in. So what can we do? So to answer your question, I think some of the signs that people will start to notice is just a very unkept house, where maybe before, everything was nice and clean and tidy, and now you're noticing messes. It could be that you're noticing some issues with bowel problems. Sometimes the bathroom just might be gross. You can see where there's been incontinence of stool, urine. You might smell some problems. You may discover spoiled food in the fridge that maybe they didn't know was there. And I'm not talking about like all of us have some kind of spoiled Tupperware container in the back, right? But what I'm talking about is like, you know, a considerable amount of their food is old or moldy or, the lettuce is all wilty and slimy and they're not noticing that it is. Um, some other things you might observe is just the conversation, whereas they can have a short conversation and it's appropriate and it sounds like they're answering questions correctly. But then when you're actually with them, you realize, hey, they're asking me the same thing over and over again, or they're telling the same story over and over again that they just said like 10 minutes ago. They may say something that's like, when I was at work last week, but you know that they're 95 and they retired 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. Things like that might come up in the conversation where you're like, wow, that's not right. So then some other things might be noticing utility bills, past due balances, those those letters of intent to turn off utilities because they forget to pay their bills. So I would say like just look around for some things like that that may be a little
Okay.
off in the home. And if something like that does happen, yes, please give us a call. We can start we can start small. Sometimes it can just be under the disguise of, hey, they're just going to come in and check on you. They're going to run the vacuum and take out the trash for you. And one thing that I tell families is if you can put the blame on yourself as the son or daughter, as here's an example. Mom, I have been, I've been stressed. I've been anxious because we live in Tennessee, you live here in Flagstaff or Sedona or Williams, any one of those places. And I'm worried about you. I I am stressing a lot. I think about you when I'm at work. I think you when about you in the middle of the night. And would you consider, for my peace of mind, can we start to have somebody just pop in and just check on you guys a couple of times a week, just see how you're doing? Maybe do a few little things around the house that you may need help with. Your back's been hurting, the arthritis is flaring up. Can they come in and run the vacuum for you? Can they just, you know, clean out the fridge for you every once in a while, clean up spills, clean up the bathroom, just do some light housekeeping for you from time to time, help you with transportation. I know you really miss going out to tea with your ladies and your friends because you don't want to leave dad at home. Can they come in and stay with him for a few hours so that you can stay connected to your friends? What can we do? We're really just I want you to thrive here in your home. I want you to be able to stay here as long as you want. And if we can just start to do a few little things, I think we can maintain your independence a lot longer. Things like that can help.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, at family gatherings during the holidays, say, what are some simple adjustments that families can make during their gatherings to create a more dementia-friendly environment?
Hmm. Like if they're gonna take their loved one to the event.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Well, a couple of things. I would say that they're probably not going to want to stay as long as you, or maybe you feel like you can't stay as long because you got to get them home. So, having somebody else partner with you in that so that they can come pick that person up, maybe an hour after the event starts and bring them back home and put them in, sit with them in their own environment, bowl of ice cream, turn on the Family Feud, or Price is Right or something like that. Just get them back in their own environment where they can be relaxed and you can continue and stay at the event. Um, the other thing I would say is watch out for the high sugar treats, right? Because a lot of these holiday gatherings just have a lot of sweet apple cider and sweet cookies and cakes and desserts and all these things that are just delicious and overloaded with sugar, which are just not good for our loved ones. We'll probably do a whole segment on nutrition and the effects of sugar on the dementia brain, but for now, I would just say feed them before you come. Feed them a good nutritious meal, hydrate throughout the day, so that way that if they do end up taking in some extra calories and extra sugar, it does offset it a little bit by that healthy dinner that you had before you came.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, we're out of time.
Okay.
So thank you so much for joining me today, Regina. And you really do put your whole heart into everything you do. And it's just wonderful to witness. And to our viewers, if someone you know could benefit from support, please share this video with them. You never know whose caregiving journey you can make a little bit easier. Join us every Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. MST right here on Facebook for conversations that help care for the people who cared for you. We'll also be uploading these videos to our website, www.sugarandspicecare.com. And remember, at Sugar and Spice Care, we believe no family should navigate caregiving alone. See you next week for more of Do Your Parents Want to Stay Home?
Thanks, Infinity. It was a pleasure
Bye.
talking with you. Bye.
Bye.